Okay, so today we're going to talk about the 5 elements. And there's a story that was shared with the rishis about how the 5 elements came to be. And I love that it comes in story format for a few reasons, but one is that you really get to make sense of, and when you really make sense of something, it's easier to remember. So each of the parts kind of makes sense and gives you a better understanding of how they're related to one another. So the 5 elements. As I've said before, it is known that we are all made up of cosmic consciousness. And so within this cosmic consciousness, there began a vibration. And this vibration created sound in the medium of what we know as our first element, ether. And within this ether, the vibrations caused the second element, which is air. I kind of picture it as wind, because that's how I imagine it, that the vibration is kind of pushing particles, which then becomes the air. And that's essentially what happens to create the third element, is this colliding air creates friction, and friction creates heat, and these heat particles then start to spark and give light to our third element. Fire, burn, baby, burn. And when we think about something, just, what kind of happens around a fire with that much heat is it began to draw our fourth element, water. And water, when it takes shape and form, gives us our fifth element, earth, baby. Give us that. Solid. That's the big difference, is earth is defined as solid. And ether is basically super special because it is the origin. So in other words, without either, none of this is happening. Period. Okay, so there are elements to each of these, because within the elements there are elements, of course. So what are the elements of these? What are the characteristics, and how do they pertain to the body? So before I get into describing all that, I feel like it's important to understand that this is what everything is made up of. I'm talking the universe, the stars, and you. We are all made of this. And so the only thing that makes it take a certain physical form is the energy it carries. Ooh. So this is a conclusion to be drawn that matter is energy. Okay, moving on. So, ether. Each one of these is going to have what I call an input. It's also the sensory organ, so meaning your sensors or your senses. And then it's also going to have a motor portion, so the part of the body that moves and pertains to this specific element. And lastly, it'll be sort of the more specific parts of the body that would be correlated with each element. Beginning with ether. So because ether is sort of defined as this space that holds cosmic consciousness, it is defined as its empty space. And so the things that can be filled are the body parts. So let me start with the sensory organ. Sorry. So the sensory organ, the input is, remember we talked about the vibration creating sound. So sound being connected to the ear. So that's our sensory input. Also you can think of it as the sense of hearing. And the spaces that can be filled. So the spaces that can be filled are, for example, your circulatory system. So circulatory system, your veins, your capillaries, your arteries, the phonatory apparatus. So for me, my voice. So that means my mouth, nose, trachea, abdomen, chest. What am I missing? Oh, so yeah, basically all of these are things that can be filled, right? Abdomen. And lastly, our cells. So our cells are not necessarily filled with something, but can be filled with something. So moving on to air, our second element. So air is, the big thing about air is it is the invisible force that creates visible change. She's gonna move you. You're not even gonna see her. So the sensory organ is skin, which makes sense. You can feel wind on your skin. And the motor organ is the hand. Okay, so the hand is related to this input. So what you feel on your skin is related to the output of your hand. That's how I kind of see these related. And so the other parts of the body that are connected to this, like I said, it's air, right? So when you think of air, obviously it's the lungs, but it's also things that go like this. So that can mean muscular movement or contraction. It's also your heart, right? Sorry, I'm like doing this like freestyle. Let me look at my notes. Oh, and the intestinal tract. So I imagine the intestinal tract kind of like squeezing down. So this isn't necessarily the digestive system, but the digestive tract. The third one, Agni. Oh, I need to be writing these. This is important. Yeah, Agni. We talk about Agni a lot. In further. Forever. Okay, like this one, it comes up a lot. Everybody's fire is very important because it's related to metabolism. So let me write these. Ether is known as, forgive me if I don't say this right. Well, let me first spell it right. Aakash. Akash. Air. Vayu, Agni, water is Jal. Jalbai. Okay, back to fire. So fire being obviously related to light, right? So it makes sense that the eyes would be a part of that. So that's our input, and our output would be our foot movement. And so the things related to the fire is, again, with metabolism, but also because the eyes are connected directly to the brain, it's giving intelligence. The gray matter in the brain, thought, body temperature. I mean, it's heat, right? Obviously sight because of the eyes, but also the digestive system as a whole, a little bit more looking at the overall system, not just the part that pushes down. So moving on to water. Jal. So water has to do with all of the wet parts of your body. This makes sense. So, let's talk about, the organs is the tongue. Okay. I would say the tongue, and the output is reproductive organs. So I always say, like, my pussy and my brain are connected, but really it'd be, I don't know, the tongue and the coochie are related. So let's move on. I had to say that from a spiritual. This is now just my personal. So we have. Sorry, I lost my place in the notes going off. Okay. So this again, it relates to all of the wet organs. So that means the genital tract, Oh, it is sometimes called the lower tongue. That's what I'm saying. Believe that these two organs are connected. Oh, yeah. Salivary glands. So genital tract, here we go. Salivary glands, that makes sense. Mucus. Plasma, which is what in the blood, and cytoplasm, I believe, in the cell. Cytoplasm of the cell. Yes, so cytoplasm being in the cell. Okay. Fifth element, water. This is, again, the only solid, and the input sensory organ is the nose. The output, the anus. Love it. Those two are easy to remember. So it is thought that, it is kind of noted by the people that really gathered this, the Vedic peoples, the rishis, that they thought that if you were people that were often suffering from constipation, it was often connected with respiratory discomfort and sense of smell. So that's just something to note. Excuse me. The bones, so the parts of the body that are related to this are, again, things of structure, things that are solid. So that would be your bones, your cartilage, sorry, I don't know how to spell cartilage. I don't know how to spell cartilage. Nails, muscles, the actual denseness of the muscle, tendons, the physical skin, the protective barrier of skin, and hair. So these will all come into play a little bit more, like, as we learn about the doshas especially. So this will start to make a little bit more sense, and something, it takes a little bit of time to get all this in, and kind of like go back to this and remember these baseline things. So I'm just trying to give you like a screenshotable. I know my notes are kind of messy. That's why it's better to watch the whole video, but there's a screenshot. Appreciate you. Please like and subscribe. It really helps. I hope I can make any sort of income being an educator online. It would be a dream come true. All I want to do. Thank you for your support.